Many women do not stay in unhappy relationships because they are weak, confused, or unaware of their pain. They stay because leaving is not just an action, it is a psychological earthquake that shakes identity, hope, memory, fear, and self-worth all at once, and long before a woman ever considers walking away. She has usually tried to understand, to fix, to adjust, to compromise, to love harder, to become quieter, softer, more patient, less demanding, and more forgiving because from an early age many women are taught that love is endurance, that commitment means staying even when it hurts, that walking away makes you selfish, and that a good woman is one who sacrifices comfort for connection. And this belief quietly embeds itself so deeply that when unhappiness appears, she does not see it as a signal to leave but as a challenge to overcome, a test of loyalty, a phase that must be survived, and so instead of asking, "Is this relationship healthy for me?" she asks, "What am I doing wrong?" And this question alone can keep a woman trapped for years, because it shifts responsibility inward even when the damage is external and as unhappen. Unhappiness grows, it rarely arrives all at once but rather in small emotional withdrawals, in conversations that stop going deep, in affection that becomes conditional, in moments where she feels unseen but tells herself she is being too sensitive. And because the decline is gradual, she adapts to it slowly, normalizing pain in increments so small that one day she looks around and realizes she is living in a version of love she would never recommend to anyone else. Yet leaving still feels impossible because by then she is no longer just attached to the person. She is attached to the version of herself that tried, hoped, endured, and believed, and walking away would feel like admitting that all that effort, all that patience, all those sacrifices did not lead where she hoped. And for many women this feels more painful than staying, because staying preserves the story that, if I just hold on a little longer it might change, while leaving forces her to grieve not only the relationship but the future she imagined, the potential she invested in, and the belief that love would eventually reward her loyalty. And this is why hope becomes both her strength and her cage, because hope is powerful enough to keep someone alive through hardship, but dangerous enough to keep them attached to situations that are quietly breaking them. And beyond hope there is fear, fear of starting over, fear of loneliness, fear of being judged, fear of being told, "I told you so," fear of confirming the doubt she already carries about her worth, because when a relationship fails, women often internalize it as personal failure rather than shared incompatibility, and society reinforces this by asking questions like, "What happened?" or "Why didn't you make it work?" instead of "Were you happy?" And over time this external pressure becomes internalized, making her feel responsible for holding the relationship together even when she is the only one holding it at all. And another reason women stay low. Listening, supporting, nurturing, remembering details, forgiving mistakes, and holding space for another person's growth. And once this investment is made, walking away feels like abandoning something she built with her own emotional hands, and the more she has given, the harder it becomes to leave, not because the relationship is good, but because leaving would mean letting go of everything she poured into it. And there is also the fear of the unknown, which often feels more terrifying than known pain, because unhappiness that is familiar can feel safer than freedom that is uncertain. And so she stays in a relationship that hurts because at least she knows how to survive inside it, while the idea of rebuilding her life feels overwhelming, especially if she has lost parts of herself along the way. And many women also stay because they believe in the real him, the version of their partner they saw in the beginning or in rare moments of tenderness, and they hold on to these glimpses as proof that the relationship is worth saving, even when the day-to-day reality contradicts it, because those moments become emotional evidence that love still exists somewhere beneath the disappointment. And this belief is reinforced when the partner occasionally changes just enough to keep hope alive, apologizing, promising, improving briefly, then returning to the same patterns, creating a cycle where pain is followed by relief, and relief feels like love, and over time this emotional cycle becomes addictive, making it even harder to leave. And for some women, staying is also tied to identity, because the relationship has become part of who they are, part of how they define themselves, and leaving would mean facing the question, "Who am I without this?" which is deeply unsettling, especially if she has sacrificed dreams, friendships, or independence along the way. And there is also the weight. Independence along the way, and there is also the weight of time, the years invested, the shared memories, the milestones, the inside jokes, the history that cannot be erased. And the longer a woman stays, the more she feels that leaving would mean wasting all that time, even though staying longer only adds more time to the loss. And this is where the sunk cost fallacy quietly operates, convincing her that enduring more pain is somehow justified by the amount she has already endured. And, culturally, women are often praised for patience and endurance, told that strong women stay, that love requires suffering, that commitment means not giving up, and these messages blur the line between perseverance and self-betrayal, making it difficult for a woman to trust her own unhappiness as a valid reason to leave. And when she finally begins to feel the urge to go, guilt often follows, guilt for hurting someone she still cares about, guilt for breaking a family, guilt for disappointing others, guilt for choosing herself, and this guilt can be so heavy that staying feels easier than carrying it, even when staying costs her joy, confidence, and peace. And it is important to understand that many women do not stay because they do not see the red flags, but because they see them and believe they can manage them, fix them, love around them, or outgrow them together, and when that doesn't happen, they blame themselves instead of the mismatch, and over time unhappiness becomes internalized as normal, as manageable, as something to be tolerated rather than addressed, until one day the emotional exhaustion becomes impossible to ignore, and the woman realizes that she is no longer staying because